Hello, welcome back to theCUBE studios. I'm John Furrier, host of theCUBE, here for a special CUBE conversation with DigiCert, future-proofing trust, where all the security, the PKIs, the compliance, and all the emerging threats are addressed as we look at the future with quantum computing. It's going to be a big conversation, all part of that trust equation that is now the modern era. Lakshmi Hanspal is here, the Chief Trust Officer with DigiCert. Thanks for coming in for this CUBE conversation. I think the trust officer is going to be part of this conversation.
That is right. Thank you, John, for having me here. It's wonderful to be here. And trust, yes, we're going to talk about digital trust and the role of the trust officer.
And one of the predictions that you guys have had is that this role would emerge. This is what you do. You are the Chief Trust Officer. Can you explain, one, how that happened, a little bit of preamble there, and then what you do and why it's important and how does it relate to the organization and then the industry?
Of course, now, as someone who's led security, privacy, and aspects of trust at scale in companies like Amazon Box and SAP, I've had the privilege to view firsthand the journey of trust morph from a compliance checkbox to a strategic imperative. Now, the rise of the Chief Trust Officer parallels this tectonic shift that's happened. And we are going to see 2025 and beyond more companies invest in this critical role because they're dealing with complex regulatory landscapes. They're dealing with increasing cybersecurity threats. And quite frankly, a heightened customer expectation around transparency and ethical practices as well. Now, the Chief Trust Officer should and must deliver trust as a foundational business asset. So in today's digital economy, when we think about that, we are going to see more of these investments in those foundational digital security assets that we have. And the role become part of an indispensable business leadership.
You're seeing a lot of these kind of targeted roles. I remember the days back in the Chief Data Officer, the CIO was the top position, then CISO came out, Chief Information Security Officer. You have a CSO, Chief Security Officer for physical security. You have Chief Trust Officer now, and you see a lot of AI conversations, safety's involved, so there's a whole nother thread there. But with quantum, you got AI and quantum. How is this role differ than some of the other roles like a CISO?
Right. Now, I have been a CISO prior, so I can speak with experience as well. Now, when we think about what I will say, so Chief Trust Officer, I'll say it as CTRO. So when you think about the CTRO and the CISO, the roles are distinct, but with complementary focus. Let me explain some differences. So when we think about scope of responsibility, a CISO primarily focuses on the technical and the security aspects, so technical security aspects, such as cybersecurity infrastructure, incident response, operations, and compliance with security standards. A CTRO takes a broader view of trust. And what does that encompass? It encompasses privacy, it encompasses ethics, reputation management, and stakeholder relationships. When we think about stakeholder engagement, primarily a CISO is more internally focused, engineering, product, IT, vendor relationship. When we think about a CTRO in terms of engagement, well, it's a broad set, a spectrum of who they need to engage with. It includes customers, partners, regulatory bodies, as well as maybe even the public sometimes. And then finally, in terms of the business alignment, business objectives, much of the objectives of a CISO is more technical and operational aligned and operational risk aligned, whereas fundamentally for a CTRO to deliver trust as a business, foundational business asset, they need to be aligned with the business objectives.
So the CISO is fighting all the bad guys and managing the security posture, operational, very heavy operations. How, with all the threats coming in, we're hearing a lot of reports about compliance. I mean, AI could fill out some paperwork, but anything that happens, something happens. So there's all kinds of work that has to get done to manage, to prove that you're trusted. And then there's work to be done to show that you're trusted and be trusted. So how much of it is an internal focus? How should organizations look at this? Because with AI going to disrupt the role of the CMO, we talk about that, other departments, CFOs. AI is coming in, this privacy.
Content trust.
Content trust. So trust is not just security, it's everything. If I'm a CMO and I get AI, we use a big conversation here in theCUBE about that.
It's all the way from intellectual property rights to content trust to how do you protect that content as well when it's out there in the media, right? So when we think about the Chief Trust Officer, and if you look at my portfolio, what does it include for DigiCert? It includes the office of the CISO. So I have the responsibilities of the CISO, but it's CISO plus plus. And what does the plus plus include? It includes a program called Customer Zero, which is basically DigiCert on DigiCert. Are we tasting our own champagne? And are we telling our customers about it? Hey, here's how we did it for DigiCert. We were here and now we're here. Here's what you can do for yourself. So that's a practitioner to practitioner conversation. It's very powerful.
It's actually, you know, this is a time in history, just to not go on a tangent, but you know, in this industry with AI, this client zero is everyone's doing it because they have to. And I think the trust thing scales across areas that the CISO certainly protects, but doesn't have to worry about the departments.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's interesting. When you did the client zero with trust, what did you learn?
Well, what we learned is a number of things. One, we could be the first feedback into product and engineering. If it's taking 12 clicks to do something, we want it done in one. And I'm sure our customers want it too. So that's the early feedback we can provide to product and engineering on what a good looks like and what great looks like in terms of experience. But also what we learned is that we can have use cases for our customers in terms of the optimization and efficiency that they need to aim for. I mean, I call that term institutional operational excellence. And we're going to dive deep in a little bit more on what that means. I mean, how do companies that aim for institutional operational excellence would be thinking about their strategic imperatives? And finally, when we think about Customer Zero, it helps us understand where we need net new SKUs, where we need, hey, we wrote something to fill a gap.
Yeah.
Now, is it just a gap that we need, or do we anticipate our customers needing it? And then that becomes a product conversation.
What are some of the challenges for companies to migrate to have a trust environment, be ready for quantum, leverage the Gen AI? What are some of the things that have to happen?
Yeah, so I think when we think about what are some of the shifts that are happening in the industry, clearly with digital trust, which is trust in everything that we do online, there are three things that are happening. One is that the fundamentals of cyber hygiene are being tested. What does it mean? When we think about cyber hygiene, we're thinking about infrastructure security. We're thinking about platform applications. So as you build up what I would call up a Maslow pyramid. So now, for anybody who's not familiar with Maslow hierarchy of needs, it's about fundamental needs at the bottom, physiological needs, then safety,
Shelter.
and then iron. Exactly.
Some say Wi-Fi is actually below shelter.
Yeah, actually, I think my kids would be right there. It's like, where's Wi-Fi? Like, what should it be here? Anyway, so when we think about the Maslow pyramid for our customers, institutional operation excellence is that physiological layer, right? And that includes PKI as a service, a trusted domain name service, so DNS as well, and then operational excellence in this. And what is operational excellence? This is not about spreadsheeting and throwing 100 or few people at this, right? This is about automation and governance in that institutional operation excellence. How much of low touch and no touch are you running that with? Once you have that.
That's critical infrastructure, by the way.
That is critical infrastructure. When you think about hospitals and financial services and
plumbing,
device
like
industry.
Foundation.
Yeah, I think it's definitely like plumbing. You take it for granted until it's broken.
Exactly, exactly.
And then when we think about the next layers, like, I take this example. When, if you think about the Maslow pyramid, when someone is thinking about where their next meal is coming from, you're not going to be able to convince them on healthcare. So if we build the Maslow pyramids for our customers, if you have institutional operation excellence, then you should be thinking about software trust, because that's your next asset that you want to protect. What does software trust include? Includes code signing, includes a software bill of materials that is there, and it also includes a cryptographic bill of materials, which we'll touch a bit when we talk about PQC. What does that mean? So when we have excellence on the software, then we talk about the content trust. Hey, how's my content being trusted? How do I determine provenance and authenticity of content? Now, the second part of the shift that's happening in industry is with quantum compute and the post-quantum compute readiness.
Explain what people have to do to get there, because post-quantum cryptography, PQC, as you said.
Yes.
The post-quantum world, everyone wants to know that date, where's it going? What does that mean to migrate, be ready for that?
Yeah, so quantum compute is the ability to solve mathematically hard problems in a reasonable human time. And what does this mean? It probably minutes instead of thousands of years. And many of the cryptographic algorithms today exist because they are difficult to solve, at least in your and my lifetime, right?
Yeah.
And in the human lifetime, as we think about it. And that's why they are used ubiquitously throughout the global transactions today. When we think about quantum compute with mechanisms like superpositioning and entanglement, that helps to reduce that complexity and solve problems in minutes. Now, this has a number of implications. Think about Microsoft, Google, IBM, all thinking about drug discovery and the harder problems to solve in terms of aspects of doing good for humanity. Now, the same compute can cause an existential risk problem to existing cryptographic standards. And so what does this mean for companies that need to be thinking about it? Number one is this is a Q day, as we call it. You're asking when. I don't think there's a date possible, but Q day is like Y2K without a date. So what can people do that is under their control right now? It's preparedness. And preparedness, quite simply, is 3 steps, right? So for organizations that are thinking about, oh, this is too complex, no, come talk to us. Come talk to DigiCert. We have experts that can help you navigate the path to quantum readiness. We also have a free lab, by the way, at digicert.com, a PQC lab that you can experiment with. But 3 steps. The first is discovery and inventory of all your cryptographic assets within the organization. Prioritize the critical ones. The second is crypto agility. Are you ready for automatic upgrade or updates to newer quantum resistant ciphers? And the third is automate and governance. It's not one and done. Have you put monitoring mechanisms in place when the bar on quantum compute keeps changing, right? And so that's the journey for customers as they think about it too.
And you guys keep a good eye on standards. That's good stuff. Final question for you on the, as the Q date's coming, being ready is key. You guys are helping people with the journeys to understand that. That's key. The hot area is generative AI. What's DigiCert's position as Gen AI continues to roll out? Because I'm sure you'll be busy as the Chief Trust Officer because people don't trust it, but they want to use it.
Yes.
So they call you, get a lot of, you're like a therapist, like, hey, okay, we can use it. I mean, AI's a double-edged sword. I mean, all kidding aside, there's a lot of gains, but the confidence has to be high.
You know, my office does have a couch, so maybe it does qualify to be a therapist.
But hallucinations happen all the time in AI. It's a fun area, but it's not ready for production workloads or critical infrastructure.
That's right. Well, look, Gen AI is here to stay. It is disruptive. It has a lot of value in what it is adding today to a number of industries. However, when we think about Gen AI, the question of content trust comes in. What is real? What is fake? And how do I detect that? And this is where what we call standards such as C2PA, the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity, where DigiCert has a seat at the table in developing standards and in providing the provenance and authenticity of content. So if you take a photo on your iPhone, it has metadata associated with it, the phone, the location, the date, the time. When you apply filters, like my kids constantly do to the photos that they take, that metadata is added to it. So there's a different cryptographic block that says something has changed. Now, when that photo is used in digital media like theCUBE, there's another cryptographic block. So this is called provenance preservation, and then authenticity can be achieved. So when we think about Gen AI and DigiCert's journey within that, our focus is to enable secure Gen AI with each one of our customers, wherever they want to take that to be, between financial services and hospitals and different verticals, but to do so in having that institutional operational excellence, that trusted framework that again preserves the cyber hygiene and the content trust and the software trust, because Gen AI is going to write software. So how do you preserve that software trust?
I mean, you're in the digital trust management business platform, and that's what people need to think about. I mean, you go back to the original digital platforms, the internet, you had digital rights, was a thing. And every wave, there's always a digital trust equation. And certainly implications for security are high, but also users, there's phishing, all kinds of things are happening around misinformation, trust. Content will always have a trust management system around it.
Right, and PKI and digital signatures, which are well-established technologies today, where DigiCert has been serving since, what, 2000, like decades, are the basics of content trust preservation as well.
So you guys are going to move up the stack then from into the more of the application layers?
There is no other way. Trust is at every layer. And as businesses become more, the appetite to do more increases, there's no way but digital trust to go up the stack, lateral, as well as in different verticals.
Well, Amit knows I'm a huge fan of DigiCert. You guys have a great presence in the industry, locking down all that secure space, the critical infrastructure, and now it's extending. Thanks for coming on theCUBE.
Yeah, look, we're the leader in digital trust, and we're always there for our customers to do more.
Thanks for coming on, Lakshmi. Okay, I'm John Furrier here inside theCUBE for a special CUBE conversation. Thanks for watching.